From February 6, 2023, a series of devastating earthquakes of horrific magnitudes hit southeastern Turkey and northern Syria, and as of the moment I am making this video, the death toll is still increasing due to the deadly aftershocks. More than 30,000 people lost their lives, and millions of buildings have collapsed, depriving so many people of their homes. The current situation is heartbreaking, but it should not be a surprise to know that a great number of major earthquakes have taken place in the Levant due to its location at the triple junction of the Anatolian, Arabian, and African tectonic plates. And as the Near East has a very rich historiographical tradition, many of the earthquakes from ancient and medieval times have been documented. The one I wish to talk to you about today took place in Antioch, modern-day Antakya, in the Hatay province of Turkey, bordering Syria, since it was traditionally a Syrian city. Antakya and its province is one of the worst-hit regions of today's catastrophe, along with Kahramanmaraş and its province, which used to be called Antakya, another city on the border of Syria. While the 2023 Turkey-Syria Earthquake is certainly the strongest seen by the area since the early 20th century, possessing a seismic magnitude of 7.8, almost 1500 years ago, an earthquake of only a magnitude of 7.0 absolutely devastated Antioch, causing 18 months of aftershocks, 250,000 dead in the region, and left a profound impression in the works of the most prominent 6th century Roman historians. Yet the ancient Antiochians managed to weather this disaster and rebuild, and I sincerely hope the modern Antiochians and all others affected by the earthquake would be able to do the same. The year was AD 526. The Eastern Roman Empire was ruled by Emperor Justinus I, who was a solid ruler aided by his much more famous nephew Justinian, and the empire was thriving. Antioch, the greatest city of Roman Syria and the second city of the empire, had no idea what was coming for it, nor know that the days of splendor it had enjoyed since the Seleukid era would soon end. Our main source for the account of the earthquake is Ioannis Malalas, a native Antiochian chronicler, but other historians like Procopius of Caesarea and Theophanes the Confessor also wrote about the event. In 525, an earthquake already hit Antioch and caused widespread fire, which Theophanes calls the prelude to God's anger, as this was nothing compared to what happened the following year. Still, the area from the martyrium of St. Stephanos to the praetorium of the Magister Militum and many neighborhoods in Antioch were burned down. The fire was what killed most people, but nobody could find its source. At the behest of the Patriarch of Antioch, Euphrasius, Emperor Justinus granted the city 2 centenaria, that is, 200 pounds of gold for rebuilding. The generosity of the emperor could not save Antioch from the coming disaster, unfortunately. In May 526, people all over gathered in Antioch to celebrate the Ascension, even though the city was barely recovering from the fire last year. The multitude of visitors in the city at the time was a reason why the number of casualties for the earthquake of 526 was so high, and it hit them very unexpectedly. I'll quote Malalas to give you an idea of how horrific the whole deal was. Quote, Antioch the Great suffered its 5th calamity from the wrath of God during the consulship of Olybrius. Great was the fear of God that occurred then, in that those caught in the earth beneath the buildings were incinerated and sparks of fire appeared out of the air and burned anyone they struck like lightning. The surface of the earth boiled, and foundations of buildings were struck by thunderbolts thrown up by the earthquakes and were burned to ashes by fire, so that even those who fled were met by flames. It was a tremendous and incredible marvel, with fire belching out rain falling from tremendous furnaces, flame dissolving into showers, and showers kindling like flames consumed even those in the earth who were crying out." Unquote. Malalas claims that 250,000 people lost their lives, not just in Antioch, but in the whole region, while Ioannis of Ephesus claims 255,000 and Procopius claims 300,000 casualties. The sources may not agree, but you get the gist. The number is massive. Among the unfortunate victims was Patriarch Euphrasius, who apparently died after falling into a cauldron of pitch. Gruesome. Malalas talks about the destruction in the city. Everything had been destroyed. Every building, every church. While the magnificent Domus Aurea Cathedral built by Constantine the Great withstood the tremors, it too was lost 7 days after the quake in the ensuing fires. Only the houses built close to the mountains outside the city survived. As there was strong wind, the fires only got stronger, causing so much damage. Even worse, there were some utterly pathetic pieces of human garbage who tried to profit from the natural disaster by robbing the survivors of their belongings. One such robber Malalas recorded was a Silentarius called Thomas, who conducted this criminal activity for 4 days before dying suddenly, like the rest of those rascals. Their sudden deaths were interpreted by Malalas as the benevolence of God, despite his previous wrath by unleashing an earthquake in the first place, and our chronicler records even more such miraculous acts. Apparently, some pregnant women, buried under the rubble for weeks, even a month, gave birth to healthy babies, and they were all fine when they got rescued. However, not everyone was so lucky, and many died beneath the rubble. This earthquake was followed by 18 months of aftershocks, rendering poor Antioch desolate and causing significant damage in neighboring cities like Daphne and Seleucia. The emperor spared nothing in the rescue effort. He gave the commissar Carinus 500 pounds of gold to excavate the city, look for survivors, and deal with those robbers. Then, he sent two patricians called Phocas and Asterios with a lot of money to rebuild the city. Justinus himself was deeply saddened by the affair, so much that he entered church without his diadem and purple chlamys, the symbols of his imperial power. He often lamented the earthquake of Antioch publicly and stopped holding games in Constantinople. Before long, he fell ill and died, succeeded in 527 by his nephew Justinian, who also took aiding Antioch as a serious responsibility. Justinian, his empress Theodora, the commissar Orontes Ephraim, and many others vigorously took part in the reconstruction of the city, even though the aftershocks persisted and many of the rebuilt buildings collapsed as well. Emperor Justinian even increased the aid sent to Antioch. He was keen on building new churches, but he also rebuilt the city's hospice, as well as many baths and cisterns. Empress Theodora built a new church of the Archangel Michael and the Basilica of Anatolius in Antioch, and Ephraim, thanks to his efforts in rebuilding the city, gained the affection of the Antiochians, and they made him replace Euphrasius as the new patriarch of Antioch. Justinian also relentlessly hunted down looters and other criminals who robbed the Antiochian refugees. Under such leadership, Antioch was recovering well, but in 528, the final major earthquake of this episode struck the city. The diligent new patriarch Ephraim ordered to write, "Christ is with us, stand" on the doors, which apparently stopped the earthquake, and again he helped rebuild the city. Compared to the previous earthquake in 526, that of 528 was a minor affair that only lasted 1 hour and left only 4,870 people dead, but neighboring cities like Laodicea also suffered badly. Ephraim reported everything to Justinian and Theodora, who again sent as much gold as it took for the relief efforts and rebuilding, then held many processions in Constantinople. After a rough 3 years, Antioch finally saw a brief moment of peace, and Justinian renamed the city Theopolis, the City of God, in order to appease the Almighty and stop his wrath from falling on Antioch again. Bit by bit, Theopolis was reconstructed. Justinian rebuilt the city walls, and it seemed as if renaming Antioch was a good decision after all. Until the Persian Shah Khosrow I burned and looted Antioch in 540, and epically trolled Justinian by deporting the Antiochians to Persia and building them an ironic Khosrow's better Antioch. So it seemed that Antioch could not catch a break, and it went back to its original name again. Later in the century, another large earthquake hit the region, and understandably, Antioch never really recovered its former glory. More earthquakes struck Antioch over the years, in 588, 713, 859, 972, and 1110, to just name a few. But this magnificent and resilient city was never fully destroyed and always managed to rebuild, even during the aftershocks, and I believe the 526 Antioch earthquake is the best example of this. I do not know how many of my viewers are from Turkey or Syria, but I do hope that, by sharing this story, perhaps it would give a little bit of hope to those affected by the current earthquake, and maybe bring this disaster to the attention of my international audience. If you wish to help the victims of the earthquake in any way, and if you are financially able, then I suggest donating to non-governmental organizations to help with the relief efforts. Even a small donation could help a lot. We can be like Justinian and Theodora. We can be like Justinus, and give aid to Antakya and the neighboring areas during their moment of need. I will leave some links to such pages in the description below, along with my sources for the video. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and please consider helping Turkey and Syria.